Don Jazzy's influence on Nigerian pop culture is undeniable. He co-founded the legendary More Hits record with the band in the mid-2000s, producing era-defining hits and grooming stars like Wande Coal, The Prince, Dr. Seed, and later Tiwa Savage. Today, as CEO of Maven Records, is the mastermind behind newer sensations like Rema and Hyra Star. On social media, Don Jazzy often plays the lovable mentor, cracking jokes, supporting young talents, and even dishing out giveaways. However, even the most successful figures have their off-screen dramas, and Don Jazzy is no exception. From bitter feud with industry peers to swirling rumors about occult involvement, there is a lot beneath the surface. Let's pull back the curtain on some of these darker chapters in Don Jazzy's story. Hello, I'm Ayex and welcome to today's deep dive. In this episode, we're exploring the dark side of Don Jazzy, one of Nigeria's most iconic music moguls. Don Jazzy, real name Michael Collins Ajeri, is widely known as a hit-making producer and the boss of Maven Records, with a jovial public persona that has enchanted millions of Nigerians. But behind that friendly image, there are controversies, secrets, and stormy moments that even his biggest fans might not know about. Stay tuned as we uncover the conflicts, the rumors and revelations that have cast shadows in Don Jazzy's journey to superstardom. To understand the dark side, we must first appreciate Don Jazzy's rise. He burst into the scene in the early 2000s as a producer with a golden touch. Alongside the band, he built More Hits Records in 2006, and together they delivered one of the most successful music runs Nigeria had ever seen. More Hits churned out hit after hit, anthems like Oliver Twist and Booty Call, putting Afrobeat on the global map. By 2011, even Kanye West took notice, signing the band and unofficially Don Jazzy as a producer to good music. At their peak, the duo was on top of the world. Publicly, Don Jazzy cultivated an image as the easygoing Don of Afrobeats. He's the charismatic big brother of the industry, known for his easy laugh and approachable manner. But as fame and power grew, cracks began to appear behind the scenes. The first major sign that not everything was rosy came with an heart-shaking announcement in 2012. Don Jazzy and the band were splitting up and More Hits was no more. This unexpected breakup stunned fans and marked the end of a golden era in Nigerian pop music. Immediately, questions arose: what went wrong? And thus began the law of Don Jazzy's dark side. The collapse of More Hits Records was a turning point. It turned out that behind the hit songs and public brotherhood, Don Jazzy and the band had serious personal and creative conflicts. According to some reports, Don Jazzy had grown frustrated with the band's extravagant lifestyle, mood swings, and an unmanageable ego, which made working together increasingly difficult, and that on the other hand, the band felt sidelined and neglected. He believed Don Jazzy was devoting more attention to other More Hits artists and not enough to the band's own projects. In early 2012, their differences reached a breaking point. Don Jazzy announced the band's departure on Twitter, citing a difference in interest, and just like that, the powerhouse partnership was over. Another report claimed the split between the band and Don Jazzy was primarily caused by a fundamental disagreement over their career vision, specifically their approach to international success. The band wanted to aggressively pursue global opportunities and international superstardom, while Don Jazzy preferred to build a stronger foundation in Nigeria first and was uncomfortable with the expenses and international focus that came with the partnership. This led to internal tensions and a lack of business structure. Ultimately, the dissolution of their record label More Hits Records in 2012. Whatever the reason might be, this fallout exposed a darker reality of ego and power struggles at the top of the music industry. For years, fans had seen Don Jazzy and D'banj as inseparable partners, but now it was clear there had been tensions under the surface. Rumors flew widely in the aftermath. In fact, one extraordinary and entirely unverified rumor even claimed that D'banj and Don Jazzy fell out because D'banj joined the Illuminati, an alleged occult group that is very popular. According to this rumor, which must be emphasized, was never proven, Don Jazzy so disapproved of D'banj's supposed occult involvement that it dissolved their partnership. Gossip mongers pointed to Don Jazzy's charitable behavior at that time as evidence. Notably, Don Jazzy donated the proceeds from his entire production catalog to charity around that period, which conspiracists interpreted as him trying to rid himself of dirty occult money. Again, this theory was pure speculation, and Don Jazzy himself denied being part of any Illuminati or secret cult. But the fact that such a rumor gained traction shows how the Mo'Its breakup added a mystique to Don Jazzy's story. For some fans, there had to be a dark explanation beyond creative differences. What is clear is that the power tussle within Mo'It had real victims. Other artists were caught in the middle. A leaked conversation months later revealed label mate Dr. Seed complaining that D'banj's stardom was overshadowing everyone else on the team. D'banj, for his part, later accused Dr. Seed of jealousy and even claimed that all the other Mo'It members banded together to oust D'banj in a meeting. It truly was a messy breakup. Don Jazzy emerged from it to form Maven Records in 2012, while D'banj went solo with DB Records. Both went on to further success, but the dark cloud of the Mo'It saga lingered in public memory, a cautionary tale of how fame and fortune can sour a friendship. It set the stage for future conflicts in Don Jazzy's career, as we'll see next. After Mo'Its, Don Jazzy tried to rebuild with Maven Records, bringing along talents like Wande Coal, a powerful vocalist who had been with Mo'Its. For a while, all seemed well. Maven launched in 2012 and scored a huge hit with Dorobuchi by 2014. But by late 2013, rumblings of discontent surfaced again. This time, it was between Don Jazzy and his protege, Wande Coal, and it erupted very publicly on social media. The flashpoint was a song titled Babyface in November 2013. Wande Coal independently released Babyface as a single shortly after leaving Maven Records on quiet terms. To everyone's surprise, Don Jazzy went on Twitter accusing Wande Coal of intellectual property theft, essentially claiming that Babyface was a track Don Jazzy had produced and written over a year prior, and Wande Coal had recorded it without permission. Don Jazzy even provided receipt by leaking his own demo version of the song to prove the melody and lyrics were originally his. It was a shocking moment. The usually behind the scenes Don Jazzy had taken a feud with an artist into the public square for all to see. Wande Coal's response was a mix of hurt and defiance. While he never outright denied Don Jazzy's claim about the song, Wande Coal expressed disappointment at being called out so harshly. He suggested that Don Jazzy was unhappy with his growth since leaving the label, tweeting that Don Jazzy couldn't stand seeing him progress on his own. Essentially, Wande Coal insinuated that Don Jazzy's pride was wounded when he struck out independently. Fans were split. Some sided with Don Jazzy on principles of artistic ownership, but many sympathized with Wande Coal, who had given Don Jazzy years of loyalty. This Twitter war dragged the normally carefully managed Don Jazzy's brand into drama. The tone got threatening at some point, with Don Jazzy firing off stern warnings in his tweet and Wande Coal replying with cryptic remarks about respect. Observers described it as an ugly breakoff of mentor and protege. In the end, Wande Coal moved on and built a solo career, but the bad blood with Don Jazzy remained for years. For Don Jazzy, the episode exposed a less flattering side, a zero-tolerance approach to disloyalty, and a willingness to publicly shame a former friend over business matters. It added another chapter to the dark side narrative, showing that if an artist crosses Don Jazzy, he would defend his stuff, even if it means a messy fight in front of fans. No discussion of Don Jazzy's controversial moment is complete without the infamous clash between Don Jazzy and rapper Olamide at the 2015 Eddies Awards, one of the most dramatic pop culture moments in Nigeria that decade. Until date, of course. This incident was a public feud that played out on live TV and social media, showing Don Jazzy in an uncharacteristically confrontational light, a moment he later said he regretted instantly. Here's what happened. At the Eddies, an annual music award ceremony held January 1st, 2016 for the 2015 awards, Don Jazzy's artist Ricardo Banks won the coveted Next Rated award, which came out with a brand new car prize. However, this result did not sit well with Olamide, the boss of rival label YBNL, because Olamide felt his own protege, Lil Kesh, deserved that award after a string of hit songs. Tensions built up when Olamide stormed the stage earlier during another artist award and ranted, "Lil Kesh is our own Next Rated," even throwing a cup and flashing middle fingers in anger. The atmosphere was explosive. Things truly boiled over when Don Jazzy himself came on stage to accept a special recognition award later that night. Rather than ignore Olamide's outburst, Don Jazzy chose to address it head-on in a provocative way. On the microphone, he publicly called out Olamide, saying, "Olamide, if you want the car, come and collect it." This sarcastic retort implied that Olamide was just bitter about the prize. The audience gasped and then cheered. The fight was now out in the open. Olamide was enraged backstage and on Twitter immediately after. Olamide blasted Don Jazzy with a series of insults, including calling him names and questioning who he thought he was. Olamide tweeted in fury. Fans and fellow artists frantically took sides on social media, and for several hours it was an all-out war of words between the two camps, a very uncharacteristic situation for Don Jazzy, who usually avoids beef. By the next day, fortunately, cooler heads prevailed. Realizing how bad the episode made them both look, Don Jazzy and Olamide privately reconciled and publicly apologized. They posted a photo shaking hands and jointly wrote, "We are very sorry for the wahala. We are only human and we all make mistakes." Don Jazzy himself later admitted on a podcast that this Eddies altercation was out of character for him and that he regretted it as soon as he came down from the stage. He promptly apologized to the award organizers and to Olamide behind the scenes. Still, despite the apologies, the incident left a mark on Don Jazzy's record. For a moment, the public saw a darker, hot-headed side of the usually jovial producer. It became one of those legendary industry stories. The night Don Jazzy essentially told off Olamide on live TV, many applauded how he later handled it by apologizing and reflecting on his mistake, but it remains a prime example of how even a cool-headed mogul can snap when provoked. The Eddies feud had since been immortalized in Nigerian pop culture history, reminding everyone that even Don Jazzy can lose his cool, and giving fuel to those who say there is a Don in Don Jazzy that isn't always gentle. As Don Jazzy grew into an elder statesman of the industry, he also found himself entangled in controversies about exploitation and misconduct in showbiz. In recent times, Don Jazzy has faced backlash not for being accused of wrongdoing himself, but for how he responded to others' allegations of abuse. These incidents have led some fans to question his sensitivity and even wonder if he was trying to hide something. The first episode occurred in early 2024 when Nollywood actor Kunle Remi revealed that a certain powerful figure had once propositioned him for sexual favors in exchange for a movie role. Don Jazzy made headlines by chiming in and pointedly urging Kunle to name the alleged sexual predator publicly. This drew mixed reactions. Some felt he was right that offenders should be exposed, while others felt Don Jazzy was pressuring a victim and inserting himself strangely into a sensitive issue. Then, in October 2024, a very similar scenario played out, causing for greater uproar. A popular Instagram skit maker turned musician, Oluwadolas, disclosed on social media that an unnamed senior industry man had sent him a disturbing message, essentially offering to make Oluwadola's song a hit if he would bend down in return. The public was outraged on Oluwadola's behalf and encouraged him to name and shame this predator. Once again, Don Jazzy jumped into the comments, writing, "Mention the name of the person or it will seem like you're lying." That comment backfired spectacularly. Fans immediately turned on Don Jazzy, criticizing him for appearing to doubt the victim and for making what they saw as an insensitive defensive remark. In the court of public opinion, Don Jazzy's behavior looked suspicious to some. Why is Don Jazzy always quick to ask for names? One Twitter user remarked pointedly. Others accused him of gaslighting victims and trying to scare them from speaking rather than offering support. Notably, no one had accused Don Jazzy himself in this incident, yet his forceful insistence on outing the culprit made people wonder if he was trying to divert attention from something or protect someone or even himself in the industry. It's giving suspicious vibes, an Instagram user wrote, reacting to how Don Jazzy always seemed to be the first on the scene when such stories broke. Some even speculated that Don Jazzy might be defensive because he knows more about this offer for fame exploitation games than he lets on. Those were just fan theories, but the perception damage was already done. The backlash grew so intense that Don Jazzy became a trending topic for the wrong reasons. Critics said with his status and influence, he should be supporting victims of industry predator rather than pressuring them. He needs to do better. This is a toxic industry and he of all people should know that, one commentator wrote. It was a rare instance of Don Jazzy being openly dragged on social media. To date, he has not fully explained his intent aside from likely just wanting clarity. However, the incident certainly added to the dark side narrative, raising the uncomfortable idea that Don Jazzy, who has mentored many, might also be complicit in the unsavory side of the entertainment business, or at least more concerned with protecting the industry's image than empathizing with victims. This is speculation, of course, but perception can be powerful, and in this case, Don Jazzy's reputation took a bit of a hit among fans who thought his response was tone deaf. With great fame, inevitably come bizarre rumors, and Don Jazzy has been the subject of plenty. We've touched on the Illuminati whispers around the Mohits breakup, but that's just one part of the larger saga that has sometimes cast Don Jazzy in a mysterious, even sinister light in the eyes of fans. Let's unpack a few of these sensational rumors and the truth behind them. First, the Illuminati occult narrative. In Nigeria and Africa at large, it's not uncommon for superstars to be rumored to have used supernatural means to attain success. Don Jazzy, being so successful, got entangled in those urban legends. As mentioned earlier, one rumor claimed Don Jazzy's severe ties with the band because the band sold his soul by joining the Illuminati. The rumor mill even cited Don Jazzy's charitable donation as a sign he was purging evil money from his coffers. It's worth noting that Don Jazzy himself has laughed off and denied such claims. Back in the Mohit days, he made it clear it does not belong to any occult group and chalked such story up to imaginative bloggers. There is zero evidence linking him to anything of sort. Nonetheless, the Illuminati narrative persists in fan discussions, partly because Don Jazzy's success does seem larger than life and people love a good supernatural story. For a while, every time Don Jazzy posted a photo with international stars or used certain hand gestures, conspiracy theorists would buzz. It's a testament to how influential he is that some believe only dark magic could explain his influence. A compliment in a twisted way, but a dark side talking point all the same. Aside from Illuminati tales, Don Jazzy has also cultivated a bit of mystique through secrecy in his personal life. For years, one of the biggest mysteries was, why is Don Jazzy, a wealthy, successful man in his 30s, still unmarried? He used to dodge questions about his love life, leading to speculation that perhaps he had commitment issues or something hidden away. In 2021, he finally dropped a bombshell that partly answered that, revealing that he had been secretly married before, nearly 2 decades earlier. Don Jazzy disclosed on Instagram that he married a woman named Michelle when he was 20 years old, but that he effed it up, his words, and they divorced just 2 years later. He admitted that his obsession with music at that young age ruined the marriage, as he put his music career above his wife. The revelation stunned fans because Don Jazzy had kept his marriage completely under wraps for 18 years, a huge secret to hold on to. He explained that he is a very private person in relationships and he hadn't shared this earlier because he felt it was a personal matter. This peek behind the curtain showed a darker aspect of Don Jazzy's personal journey, regrets and perhaps heartbreak that he carries privately. It also showed how extraordinarily good he is at controlling the narrative of his life, hiding a whole marriage. Some fans playfully said Don Babaje is so secretive, he could have a whole soccer team of kids and he wouldn't know. For years, people joked that he might have hidden a wife or children somewhere because he never publicized any romantic partner. He has since clarified that he has no children yet and no polygamous secret life, just that one youthful marriage that didn't work out. Which brings us to another candid admission by Don Jazzy that reveals a flawed side of his character. He recently confessed that he doesn't think he can be a faithful husband, at least for now. In a July 2025 interview on Nancy Isimen's show, Don Jazzy, now 42 years, openly said, "I cannot be sexually faithful to only one partner." I made a related video on this where Bibi Niger's Euro was commenting on this topic. You can watch that here. Don Jazzy blamed his inability to commit to a single woman on himself, saying he lacked the self-discipline required for monogamy and that he'd rather be honest about it than to pretend. This frank admission set off debates online about whether his stance was refreshingly honest or a poor excuse. Many appreciated the transparency. After all, not everyone in his position would admit such a flaw openly. Yet, it also painted a picture of Don Jazzy as a man who, despite all his professional success, struggles with personal commitment and discipline. In a sense, that is part of his dark side, not in a malicious way, but as a humanizing imperfection. He's not the squeaky, clean role model in every facet of life. He has his vices and weaknesses like everyone else. Don Jazzy even acknowledged that his honesty might turn off women, but he'd rather not hurt anyone by lying about being monogamous. It's a bold stance that again highlights how he often chooses which secret to keep and which truth to tell in carefully measured ways. Interestingly, Don Jazzy's attempt to do good sometimes courted controversy, adding shades of grey to his story. A striking example came in late 2024 when Don Jazzy made a headline-grabbing philanthropic gesture, only for it to spiral into a scandal beyond his control. In October 2024, Don Jazzy decided to support social media activist Very Darkman, who had launched an NGO to fight corruption and improve public education in Nigeria. VDM is a controversial Instagram activist, famous for loudly calling out scammers and bad governance. Impressed by the cause, Don Jazzy donated a whopping 100 million naira, approximately $130,000, to VDM's NGO. This was an astounding act of generosity that left the activist in shock. VDM initially couldn't believe Don Jazzy really sent that much money until it was confirmed with Don Jazzy's personal message saying, "I believe in what you're doing. We really need that in this country." The public reacted positively, praising Don Jazzy for putting such huge funds toward an altruistic project. However, within weeks, the situation grew murkier. By late December 2024, VDM announced that 180 million naira had mysteriously gone missing from the NGO's account, allegedly siphoned by a hacker or insider fraud. This essentially meant the money Don Jazzy gave him and more were at risk. As investigations started and suspicions fell on the NGO's management, people look back to Don Jazzy's involvement in a subtle move, eagle-eyed fans noticed that Don Jazzy quietly unfollowed Very Dark Man on Instagram amid the feud allegations. To many, this signaled that Don Jazzy was distancing himself from the now tainted charity project. His generous donation had inadvertently become part of a scandal, raising questions about the NGO's transparency, the very thing Don Jazzy had hoped VDM would uphold. Social media buzzed with reactions. Some sympathized with Don Jazzy, lamenting that his good deed was being taken advantage of. Others said he should have found other ways to help people directly rather than giving it to an unproven activist. For Don Jazzy, it was an awkward spot. He hadn't done anything wrong, but the episode showed how even being a good Samaritan can backfire and drag you into a drama. It's another footnote to the Don Jazzy story. Even his charity had a dark twist. To his credit, Don Jazzy has not let this stop his philanthropic tendencies entirely, but it was a lesson in due diligence, and for observers, it was a reminder that in the entertainment world, controversies are never far away. Sometimes they find you even when you try to do the right thing. As we've seen today, the story of Don Jazzy isn't all glossy and funny Instagram videos. He's a remarkably successful producer and entrepreneur, but along with that success have come high-profile feuds, fractured friendships, public scandals, and persistent rumors. From the dramatic breakup with the band and more hits, to calling out Wande Coal on Twitter, to nearly coming to blows with Olamide on stage, Don Jazzy's career has had its share of stormy moments. We've delved into how he's faced backlash for his words, like in the Oluwadola saga, being the subject of wild occult rumors, and even how his personal confession reveal a more vulnerable side behind the superstar facade. In exploring the dark side of Don Jazzy, we uncover not an evil villain, but rather a complex, real individual who has made mistakes, harbors regrets, and occasionally finds himself at the center of controversy. Don Jazzy himself once noted that negative incidents tended to overshadow his countless positive contributions, but he's learned that not to let that get to him. He continues to mentor new stars and entertain fans, and many of the rifts of the past have been mended with time. Love him or hate him, Don Jazzy has shown an ability to bounce back from every setback, and perhaps that resilience is what truly defines him. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into Don Jazzy's story. I'm Ayex once again. Until next time, stay curious and keep watching, because there's always more to the story than meets the eye. See you in the next one.